Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet.
And I want to thank the witnesses. Appreciate your focus on this important issue. I wanted to kind of get to the PM 2.5 particulate matter issue. We have a real challenge in the interior part of Alaska. We have a non-attainment area in interior Alaska, the Fairbanks area. But the challenge there is 60 to 80% of the pollution putting Fairbanks over the standard comes from wood-burning stoves in people's homes. And we have a unique environment, winter environment there. Fairbanks is kind of in a bowl. And if you've been to interior Alaska, it's really cold, 50 below zero in the winter. And you have this kind of inversion challenge. The community's been working really hard to reduce emissions, really hard. But the EPA, in back-to-back actions in 2023, has started to initiate sanctions against the community for its inability to meet the existing PM 2.5 standard, and has concurrently proposed to lower emissions, and then, really badly in my view, worked with an outside environmental group, I think it was the Sierra Club, or without coordinating with the state or the congressional delegation to get an agreement with some far-left environmental group on what Alaskans should do. Really bad approach from the EPA that myself and my Senate and my congressional colleagues have written them about, like, hey, you got to check in with the people who are in charge, right, the state. But I would like any and all, why don't we start with you, Ms. Austin, discuss how a one-size-fits-all approach to monitoring PM 2.5 can be very challenging, but fail community-specific needs. Like I said, the extreme winter environment, the use of wood stoves to address sub-zero climate conditions, these kind of create a real challenging situation where in Alaska, a lot of times one-size-fits-all approaches from DC just don't work, they don't fit, and we end up spending an enormous amount of time trying to address that. But do you have any thoughts? And I'll just go to each of the witnesses. It's really my only big question, but it's a really important one. And this is just a specific example where we have been putting an enormous amount of work and effort in trying to reduce these emissions. We understand the importance of doing that, and yet the unique elements of what goes on in Alaska, particularly in the winter, make it a challenge.
Senator Sullivan, thank you very much for the question. I think your characterization of a one-size approach fits all is unfortunately, but understandably to some degree, EPA, is there to set national standards.
Yeah.
But you look back to the Clean Air Act, which has that cooperative federalism approach deliberately embedded in it, which
a lot of times EPA forgets about that cooperative federalism approach, right? Where the states are in the lead. A lot of people don't know that. That's the law.
And what I would say to that is, I think one area where EPA has striven to really, do more and should continue to do, and probably, up the ante a bit, is engage with states.
Yeah. Yeah.
Engage. Yeah. You've got, folks.
So
on
when
the
they
ground,
get with a national environmental group and do a consent decree without bringing the state of Alaska or the congressional delegation, and you would call that a foul in terms of engaging with the states?
I would posit that that is not the way to move forward and actually find a path forward to environmental improvement to benefit public health.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you. Mr. Oberman, you have a view on this in general?
Sure. Thank you for the question. Yes, I'm not as familiar with the context in Alaska, but I can say PM 2.5 pollution due to wood-burning stoves is an issue in Denver, too.
Yeah.
And
you guys have kind of the inversion thing with the mountains.
Yeah. Salt Lake City, where I grew up, actually does as well. So There are state rules, and there may be in Alaska as well. I'm not familiar with the regulatory context there. That require certain types of stoves that are EPA certified to be burned.
Yeah,
The air pollution sensor network that we have in Denver can be a great complement to the public health that those individuals are experiencing in your community, right? They can look at their property's air pollution level and say, what does that mean for my health today? If I'm asthmatic, or if my grandmother is asthmatic, like, what does that mean? And I mean, honestly, in the context from my perspective, what we hear is people need to know what the air pollution is in those communities and why they potentially feel off that day.
yeah.
And so programs like ours can help people just get quicker information and understand what that means for their health, and even have resources to understand more about air pollution and health if say they go to our website or other means of communication.
Good, thank you. Mr. Hamid, do you have a view on this, given your CRS perch?
Yes, thank you, Senator Sullivan. First, the state of Alaska and Fairbanks in particular have made strides in their change-out program, and that's where they change out the wood-burning stoves, and they've developed the program, been leaders across the nation in developing that program.
And you know, the EPA is supposed to be certifying those stoves, and they haven't done a very good job at that. I don't know what the issues in Denver are, but in Alaska, they haven't done a good job on certifying the stoves.
So the certification program works for the manufacturers and the retailers of the stoves. And Alaska joined the Northeast states in a recent litigation action against EPA for their certification program. Just they have some disagreements about the way, the method that EPA is.
Would you agree that the EPA
Completing
is
those
kind of failing in that certification process, just from the CRS perspective?
So I'll say that the states feel that EPA is failing, and
Yeah.
Alaska and the Northeast states did file suit. CRS is going to give you the facts on that, and
Right.
that's what we'll give you. And the states do feel that EPA needs to update their certification methods for that change-out program. It's the method in which the wood is burned in the oven that they disagree on, and the organization real-world applications versus a test, location are not the same.
Right.
That's where the disagreement and discord happens.
Good. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry I went over time there, but
It's okay.
important issue,
Yeah, we're glad you-
particularly in interior Alaska.